At a public pier in Seattle, Jason, a currently unemployed engineer, is fishing when he suddenly notices dark clouds closing in. Despite the forecast having called for sunny weather, he decides to head home. On the radio, he listens to a weather warning that a heavy rainstorm is about to hit Washington, and hopes it will pass in time for the Christmas holiday. Jason notices his neighbor Susan saying goodbye to her husband, Max, before heading out for a jog. Jason arrives home, collects the mail, and heads inside. Among the letters is a reminder that they are behind on their mortgage payment for the month. He greets their beloved elderly dog, Cassidy, before waking his wife, Anne, with donuts. Their kids, Ruth and Gray, rush in and excitedly ask for some. Anne warns Jason not to give Cassidy any bacon because she has just given him medication for his heart condition. Suddenly, the internet goes out, much to the kids' frustration.
I don't know. I think this house is really falling apart.
Anne says she is ready to move out whenever he is.
Sure, a few more lottery tickets and we should be good to go.
I'm just kidding. This isn't all on you.
She then tells Jason that she hired a contractor to inspect the cracks in the chimney tomorrow. She reads the contractor's detailed report aloud, revealing that the house's foundation is sinking and that the chimney is apparently the only thing keeping the house together. Then, Anne tells Jason that they need to buy a Christmas tree, but Jason points out that it is raining outside. In the end, however, the kids manage to convince him. He gives the car keys to Gray and asks him to take his sister outside and wait in the car. Ruth tries to open the door but can't. Annoyed, she blames her brother for playing a trick on her, but Gray insists he didn't do anything. Hearing them argue, Jason tells them both to be quiet. Jason tries the door himself, but it won't budge. He tries another door, but that one is stuck as well. Cassidy starts barking as Anne asks what is going on. Jason explains the situation to her. Jason then tries the garage door, only to find that it appears to be sealed shut. Jason goes up to the attic and tries the window there, but it is tightly shut too.
It's a prank. Teenagers, they glued all the windows and doors shut or something.
Jason shakes his head. They then realize they have no phone service either. Everyone starts panicking. Jason runs toward the door and tries to break it down, but it doesn't budge in the slightest. He grabs the fire poker and tries to smash the window, but Anne shouts at him to stop. Unable to break it, Jason moves on to another window. Just then, their neighbor across the street, Max Richardson, and his wife, gets their attention. They realize they aren't the only ones trapped inside. They notice Susan finishing her jog as her husband tells her that he is trapped inside. Susan tells him she will go and get some help. To pass the time, Jason tells his family about the nicknames he has given their neighbors. He starts with the nosy neighbor, who is always watching what's happening around the neighborhood through binoculars. He then mentions the neighbor he nicknamed Doofus, who owns a boat. They see Max holding up a whiteboard with the word government written on it. Jason grabs Ruth's slate and writes a response. Max writes back, asking, "What if it's the whole world?" That night, Jason reassures his family that they have everything they need and, most importantly, each other.
If you can make it in there, I can make it out here.
As Jason tucks Ruth into bed, she says they are trapped because of the rain. Jason assures her that it's just rain, but Ruth insists that it looked different today. Jason enters their bedroom and shows Anne the gun he recently bought. Surprised, she asks why he would buy one without consulting her. Jason tells her that a few weeks ago, he woke up from a nightmare and had a feeling that they weren't safe. Anne nods before asking him to teach her how to shoot. Sometime later, Jason stands in front of the window and uses his key fob to activate his car, accidentally opening the trunk. He tries closing it, but it won't shut. He then tries drilling holes into the door. When that doesn't work, he breaks through the wall and floor, searching for a way out, but no matter what he does, he can't break through. Jason tells Anne that the rain is creating some kind of barrier around the house. Anne asks who could do something like this and wonders if they need to worry about running out of air. Jason assures her they don't, explaining that fresh air is still getting into the house through the vent. He covers the damaged wall with a painting. Then he hears a noise coming from the chimney and notices bits of it starting to crumble. The next morning, Jason and Anne rush downstairs and try the door again, but it is still locked. With the internet still down, Jason brings down a box containing vinyl records and a DVD player and notices 2 movies inside. Jason tells them that if they ration their food properly, it should last for 2 months. For now, they still have power, water, and gas. But he warns that these supplies may not last long, so they should start treating water and electricity as luxuries. Cassidy scratches at the door.
I'm so sorry. Just pick anywhere you like. I'll clean it up for you.
On day 4, Jason notices that the kids are bored while doing their schoolwork, so he decides to teach them how to gut a fish.
Obviously, we don't have any fish, but Ruth here, she was kind enough to donate 3 of her stuffies for this lesson.
He explains the process to them in detail. Curious, Ruth asks how he knows all of this. Jason tells them that he loves the sea and used to own a fishing boat before they were born, but eventually had to sell it.
Why?
Because kids are expensive.
The next morning, Jason tells Max that he wants to find out how far down the people are trapped. So he proposes starting a chain of communication through the neighbors. A week passes. While Anne is preparing lunch, the lights begin to flicker. Jason is about to throw away the tomato seeds, but Anne stops him, explaining that she is saving them so she can grow tomatoes. Max gets Jason's attention. Max then tells Jason that he is a retired dentist and asks whether they have enough food. Jason writes back that they have enough for now. 2 weeks pass. Ruth traces a pattern on the window with her pencil, and to her surprise, the water follows the pattern. Anne immediately tells her not to draw on the window. Jason plays a song and asks Ruth to dance with him. Anne dances with Gray, and afterward, the family watches the Annie movie together. As the days pass, Anne grows a variety of plants in the kitchen, although they have yet to produce any vegetables. The family also settles into a familiar routine of watching movies and spending time together. A month passes, and now it's Christmas Eve, and the family happily celebrates together. Later, Ruth is drawing in the attic when she looks out the window and says that she's back. Jason asks who she's talking about, and Ruth replies, "The Rainwalker." He tells her she's being silly, but Ruth insists that the Rainwalker appears whenever it rains. Gray looks outside but doesn't see anyone. At dinner, Ruth complains that there aren't many vegetables in the salad.
We'll have some more vegetables soon. It just takes some time to grow.
Ruth then mentions that she saw someone outside earlier, but Gray interrupts and says she's lying. The two start arguing. Ruth tells her parents that the person she saw was trying to communicate with her.
You can communicate with anyone outside because everybody else is locked inside.
Jason apologizes to Ruth for raising his voice and says, this isn't the time to make up stories. To lighten the mood, Anne gives them some Christmas cookies she made. Since they don't have any sugar, she had to improvise the recipe. The cookies taste terrible, but they eat them anyway to make Anne happy. After dinner, Jason asks Anne if she wants to smoke a joint and watch Air Force One, and they do just that. After watching the film, the two decide to stargaze. Anne remarks that the sky looks crystal clear without all the pollution. She then cheerfully points out that they don't have to make a mortgage payment this month. Jason smiles and kisses her. Outside, the motion sensor light suddenly turns on. They see a fox staring at them before running away.
Good luck out there. It's her world now. We are no longer the ones steering this ship.
The next morning, Ruth and Gray eagerly open their presents but are disappointed. Ruth receives a half-eaten apple. While Gray gets a toy, Jason asks Gray and Ruth to give their present to Anne.
It's your very first tomato.
They saw it growing in the kitchen and they wanted to surprise her.
They encourage her to eat it, and she does. Then, Ruth gets up and notices Mrs. Richardson fainting. She immediately tells her parents, and Jason quickly takes Gray and Ruth to the den. Ruth asks if Mrs. Richardson is okay. Jason tells her that she isn't, causing Ruth to burst into tears. Later, Jason notices that it is Cassidy's last dose of medication and mixes it with his food. Night falls as heavy rain pours outside. Ruth gets out of bed and softly sings, "Rain, rain, go away." Suddenly, a loud clap of thunder startles her. Curious, she walks over to the window, pulls back the curtain, and sees Susan before screaming. Susan begs them to let her in, shouting that everyone is dead.
It's over. They're here, and no help is coming.
Suddenly, Susan is dragged away by an unseen force. Jason quickly pulls the curtains shut. Jason looks at the drawings Ruth made and admits that he doesn't understand what he's seeing.
I've tried to tell you, but the one I saw seemed nice. It's just not like the ones tonight.
He tells her that whatever is keeping them trapped inside can't be nice. Jason then tells everyone that from now on, they need to stay hidden and avoid drawing attention to themselves.
Then we start covering up all the windows.
Especially when it's raining.
Anne asks Jason what they should do. He simply says they have to survive. The next morning, Jason sees Max covering his wife's body with a blanket. Jason tells Gray and Ruth that they'll be doing PE, so Gray runs laps around the house while Ruth practices aerial silks. Suddenly, the chimney cap falls off.
Maybe we can get out now, through the chimney.
It's way too narrow at the top, and my weight would make the whole thing collapse, baby.
Ruth offers to go up, saying she's the lightest and they can use the aerial silks to hoist her toward the opening. After some hesitation, Jason and Anne agree. Jason tapes 2 poles together and uses aerial silks to hoist Ruth up the chimney. When she reaches the opening, she says she can't fit through and can only get her hand outside. They slowly lower Ruth back down. Just then, Cassidy begins crying in pain. Anne tells the kids that Cassidy had a good life with them. Jason asks Anne to take the kids to the den and turn the TV up. He then puts Cassidy out of his misery. Later, Anne goes to the garage. She suggests cremating Cassidy in the fireplace after the kids fall asleep. But Jason tells her that when things get worse and they run out of food, Cassidy could help them survive. Anne tells him to handle it himself and says she doesn't want to know anything about it. Jason takes Cassidy's remains to the fireplace and is about to burn them. But when he sees the fox, he decides to leave them for it to eat. Before the fox can approach, the rain begins to fall. Jason notices that the water has formed the shape of his hand where he had placed it. The next morning, Ruth places her plant near the window so it can get some sunlight. However, it soon starts raining, and the family begins closing the curtains. Ruth then realizes she forgot to take the plant from the window and rushes back to get it. They notice a creature outside the window. It lets out a growl. After the creature leaves, Ruth runs to Anne. 3 months pass. Ruth whimpers that she's hungry, but Anne tells her that they're rationing. Jason offers Ruth some of his food, but she cries out, saying that she wants more. She runs toward the refrigerator, but Anne immediately steps in front of it and tells her to stop. Jason asks Anne to move aside so she can see exactly how much food they have left. Anne suddenly stumbles, and Jason catches her. The entire family is beginning to feel the effects of being trapped inside the house. Jason assures Anne that they'll survive and eventually get out. She tells him to come back to reality, saying they're going to starve, and she doesn't want to watch their kids die. Jason promises he'll find a way, but Anne tells him that it's over. Gray tells his parents that they can cook the fish and says he has already cleaned them. Ruth joins them as well. The lights flicker, and Jason notices the fox outside, giving him an idea. He heads to the garage and builds a makeshift trap, placing a piece of meat inside. The following morning, he uses the chimney opening to lower the trap outside. As he expected, the fox takes the meat, but the trap fails. After making a few adjustments, he sets up the trap again. This time, the trap works, but the silk gets caught on a crack in the chimney and tears, allowing the fox to escape. As Jason is rebuilding the trap, Anne brings him some food. He tells her to give it to the kids, but Anne points out that he hasn't eaten in days and needs to eat. Jason stops eating when he notices the carrot. He then designs another trap to catch small animals, this time using a rope instead of the aerial silks. Soon, a squirrel enters the trap to eat the carrot. Jason successfully closes the trap and tries to reel it in, but the trap gets caught in the chimney and breaks. Moments later, the squirrel falls down, dead. They all smile. After cooking the squirrel, the family eats ravenously. Anne and Jason eventually decide to use the soil beneath the house to grow more plants. Weeks turn into months. Some people in the neighborhood die from starvation, while others find a purpose and keep going. Jason invents various traps to catch animals and birds. As they adapt to their new way of life, the family grows closer than ever. One night, while they are watching a movie, the electricity finally goes out for good. 5 years pass, and the family has built a self-sufficient life. They grow plants for food and eat animals caught in Jason's traps. Ruth goes up to the attic and cuts out one of her drawings, then places it on the attic window. Outside, wild animals now roam the street without fear. However, whenever the rain starts, they scatter. Anne cuts Jason's hair and asks Gray if he'd like a haircut too, but he doesn't answer her. Suddenly, one of Jason's automatic traps catches a ferret. Ruth asks Jason why he is still trapping animals when they already have enough food to get by. Jason remains silent. Later, Anne tells Jason that the house is sinking because the soil underneath it is eroding. Jason says that 5 years of constant rain will do that. Then, Jason shows his family the car he has built over the years. Anne is impressed, but Gray calls it a waste of time since they'll never be able to drive it. Jason tells Gray to help him set up a dew collector tomorrow if he wants to do something useful. Gray questions why they need one when they already have enough water. Jason snaps, saying that their supplies won't last forever and reminds him that they're surviving because he continues to find ways to provide for them.
Are you done showing us your stupid car? Yeah, great.
Anne gently tells Jason that he doesn't need to be on edge all the time, pointing out that taking care of the family isn't his responsibility alone. She tells him that the kids miss their father and that she misses her husband. Thunder rolls outside, and Jason tells everyone to shut the curtains and help him set up the water collector through the chimney opening. He then tells everyone that they have become too lax about the rules and orders Ruth to remove the drawings from the attic window because they could attract attention. Ruth refuses. Suddenly, the creature they saw years earlier appears again. Jason tells everyone to hide. The creature enters the house and begins roaming around. Water dripping from its tentacles causes the nearby plants to wither. The creature pierces the floorboard with its sharp tentacles where Ruth is hiding. Some drops land on Ruth. Suddenly, the creature rushes out of the house after hearing growls coming from outside. Gray tries to go outside, but Jason stops him as the door closes. Gray asks his father why he stopped him, saying that he almost made it out. Ruth then tastes the droplets from the creature.
It's seawater. What?
The rain stops. Jason tries the door, but it is still locked. He tastes their drinking water and realizes that it has turned salty.
Leviathan, Kraken, mermaids. Think about it, Dad. 80% of the ocean floor is unexplored. What if these tales of sea creatures are real? What if that's why they can control the rain? They're not conquering our world. It's their home.
Jason tells Ruth that this is their home and that she is safe there. He then asks her to stop reading and do something useful. She nods, but goes back to reading anyway. Anne tells Jason that all the plants are dying. She tastes the soil and realizes the creature has contaminated it with salt water. Jason tells her that the same thing has happened to their drinking water. Anne concludes that whatever is outside wants them to starve and die. Outside, a ferret gets caught in one of the automatic traps. Ruth begins petting it. In the kitchen, Jason assures her they can replant and set up dew collectors. Anne reminds him they only have 3 days of water left and asks him to be realistic.
I don't know, Anne. I don't know. What should I do?
Open your eyes! You think we're still alive because of you? We're still alive because of a crack in the chimney. We're not better than anyone else who died. We're just luckier! If we don't find a way out of this house, we will die!
Suddenly, they hear Ruth screaming after the ferret bites her. Jason immediately kills it despite Ruth begging him not to. The bite becomes infected, and Anne tells Jason that they need antibiotics. Frustrated, Jason heads to the garage, gets into the car, and repeatedly rams it into the garage door until he eventually loses consciousness. Anne and Gray wake him up. Jason notices cracks in the floor. He jams a crowbar into one of them. Jason reminds Anne that she previously said the house was sinking. He wonders if something else could be shifting as well, like the cracks in the chimney.
Follow the crack. The crack's
No.
Jason goes to the bathroom, removes the toilet, and begins breaking through the tiles. To their surprise, they discover a pipe that leads to the main sewer system, which connects the entire neighborhood. Jason realizes it also connects to the Richardsons' house and remembers that Max is a dentist, so he might have antibiotics. Jason tries to enter the pipe, but the opening is too narrow.
I can fit now. This one is me.
She enters the pipe and crawls through it until she reaches a dead end. She tells Jason and the others about the situation before noticing some loose bricks. Suddenly, the video feed cuts out. Desperate, Jason tries to enter the pipe himself. Meanwhile, Gray notices a light coming from the Richardsons' house and asks his father to come and see. The video feed suddenly comes back, and Anne tells them that she has made it through. Anne begins searching for antibiotics. Jason and Gray panic and urge her to come back because the rain is starting. Anne spots a bottle of water and eventually finds several bottles of antibiotics. She hears a growl behind her and quickly hides. She then makes her way back into the sewer to return home. However, she screams when she sees Max's body. The sewer begins flooding as rainwater rushes in. She shouts for Jason and Gray to pull her back. It spits a black substance at her while its tentacles knock the gun down. Jason and Gray manage to pull her back. Jason then starts breaking through the wall, causing it to cave in and trap the creature inside. They give Ruth the antibiotics. Jason asks for the gun, but Anne tells him she lost it.
It is going to be coming for us now. He doesn't know how many of us there are. I'll stay here.
He asks her to take the kids to the attic and hide until the rain stops. Gray, however, argues that he's tired of hiding.
We know that they can open that door. And if they can come in, then we can get out. We'll fight them if we have to.
Jason agrees, and they begin setting up traps throughout the house. Anne prepares a Molotov cocktail. The rain begins pouring heavily. Gray notices the bathroom faucet turning on by itself, while Jason hears a strange noise coming from the chimney. Suddenly, water comes rushing through it. The water rapidly floods the house. Anne ducks underwater and sees the creature outside. Moments later, Ruth screams that it's in the house. Jason retrieves the harpoon gun, but he can't get a clear shot at the creature. He tells Anne to hit it with the Molotov. Jason fires the harpoon but misses. The creature then uses its tentacles to pull him underwater. Fortunately, Anne manages to pull him free, and they make their way onto the stairs. Jason tells everyone they need to get to the attic because the water is rising. Anne asks where the harpoon is, and Jason tells her he dropped it in the kitchen. Gray offers to retrieve it, and Jason nods. Gray swims toward the kitchen and manages to find and retrieve the harpoon. He then hears the creature growling and hides. However, he soon begins running out of air. Just then, he sees his parents' hands reaching toward him. Eventually, the family makes it to the attic. Jason asks Gray to load the harpoon while he tells Ruth to cast the line. They activate the trap. Suddenly, they are all pulled underwater and end up near the entrance. Jason threatens the creature, telling it to open the door or he will kill it.
When I saw seemed nice.
It's not nice.
Jason cuts the rope holding the creature in place and drops the knife. Instead of attacking them, the creature simply stares at them before opening the door. They all rush outside, only to find several creatures waiting for them. The creatures from the house emerge and communicate something to the others. The creatures then leave. Moments later, the entire house collapses. The rain finally stops. The family climbs onto a vehicle and looks around. Realizing that much of the city has been submerged in seawater, they take their neighbor's boat and set sail into the ocean. Anne uses the radio to ask if there are any survivors out there. A distorted voice responds, "Hello?